What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns, back with you ahead of this preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals and post joint practice singular with some thoughts. What's up, Johnson?
And guess what? It might rain on Saturday. Just perfect for more Bears-Bengals football.
I didn't have a problem with this, rain, the practicing in the rain. Am I just old school football now?
No, you're old school football? I thought I was the old school football guy. But
yeah.
Right. No, I love that they practiced in the rain yesterday. But there was one point when it was coming down pretty good where I'm like, okay, maybe they'll go inside at this point, or they'll figure something out, or they'll take a break and let this certain cell pass us by. You didn't have that thought at all when it started getting heavy?
It was coming down really hard, especially when they were like kicking at the end.
Yes.
Was that in the end? I think it was. And it was just like pouring. It was fun. Respect to who didn't flinch at the rain at all? Matt Ryan was at practice. And he was just standing out there in a quarter zip. Should have been a Hoge Jahns quarter zip, but it was some other quarter zip. Shorts, a hat, just drenched and never moved. Never flinched.
Scott Pioli, Ian Cunningham there, Ryan Poles. I love the rain practice. I didn't like the idea of going inside the Walter Payton Center at all. I never thought that was an option.
It's really
the Bears.
Not.
But the only time I had the thought like, oh, they're going to change something here is when it got too heavy at certain points. And you just wonder if that was too much rain for what they wanted to do.
Yeah, no, I think they were staying out there unless there was lightning and they had to go inside. Unfortunately, there wasn't. So they got it in, and we have some thoughts on the practices, and we're also going to take some questions from the listeners in the show as well. You can follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. Our show account is at Hoge and Jahns. All of our merch at hogeandjahns.com. Appreciate everybody jumping there, buying all our merch. We see it out at training camp. We love seeing it. So keep that coming. We just saw some new hats come in. I know, some shirts. Shout out to Joe, who I think outfitted our kids for the season too.
Got some happy boys here.
Yeah, it's good people over at Obvious Shirts. Make sure you're supporting them as well. And all of our merch at hogeandjahns.com. You can read Johnsy in The Athletic. theathletic.com/HogeandJahns is where you go to subscribe. And you can get my Bears Things newsletter if you are a CHGO diehard. As we record on this Friday, there was one that dropped in your inbox this morning with some thoughts on the practices yesterday. Johns, where do you want to start? You want to start with QB1 and how he did?
I thought you wanted to start with the 10-minute kickoff period.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Actually, here's what I do want to start with this question, because I saw this going around in social media yesterday. The consensus, it seemed like, from the Bengals reporters, and Bears fans got all excited at one video that was going around too, with I think one of the TV reporters did a 3-minute summary or whatever practice.
I saw that today. Yes.
Yeah, and he was basically like, the Bengals sucked and the Bears were good. That's how I could summarize the 3 minutes. No, it was, Joe Burrow struggled against the Bears defense. The Bears defense looks good. And on the other side, Caleb Williams looks legitimate. And there was just a lot of Bears fans being like, wow, this is weird. Like opposing media coming in and being really impressed with what the Bears did. And I think it is a departure from some of these other joint practices we've seen. My question to you, Johns, is, it's one day. How much stock do you put in it?
Well, you only play a team once, really, right? Like, you have one game against them. I liked how they looked. It felt better. It looked better to me than the 2 days the Bears had last year with the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know. We still didn't watch those practices a lot together last year. This year just felt, despite the rain, like they're pushing the ball down the field. They're scoring touchdowns. They're having success as a first-team defense and as a first-team offense. We didn't see a lot of that over 2 days against the Colts. Here, for one day against the Bengals, which they have some pretty darn good players, it was a good day for the Bears. They look like the better team.
Yeah, they did. I had my eyes mostly on the Bears defense going up against Burrow. Was really impressed with Jalen Johnson, which has been well documented at this point. He's just really stacking days and looks like he really could go from second team All Pro to first team All Pro this year. Especially
And
if
maybe
he,
a spot in the top 100.
yeah, maybe a spot in the top 100 finally. Takeaways will be and that if I have one criticism at all from camp on him, and it's a reach, admittedly, but there have been some opportunities for him to take the ball away. And like, wasn't that him in the end zone the other day against the Bills too?
Buffalo in the back of the end zone against Keon Coleman.
And Keon made, for a rookie, made a great play out, but you know, that's kind of the small difference. It's like make those really tough interceptions sometimes, and that's how you get to go from second team All Pro to first team All Pro. But he looks awesome, and I just think as a whole, the secondary, even not having Jaquan Brisker out there, really rose to the challenge. Bengals didn't have Jamar Chase. That changes a lot. The guy's really, really good. But day for the Bears defense.
What did you see from their pass rush? From my vantage point, because there were breaks between snaps, so you're able to watch the Bears' first team offense and then turn your head and watch the Bears' first team defense for a little bit. Like I thought Gervon Dexter, I saw him bat down a pass. I saw Zach Pickens do the same. I saw a pretty good rush by Austin Booker. How did that defensive line look against the Bengals?
Yeah, I would say this. I didn't notice a ton of sacks or really forcing Joe Burrow off his spot. The bat downs that you mentioned were there, both Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens. But what it was resulting in was a lot of checkdowns, I just thought. Like Joe was having to look downfield, then he just checked the ball down. That seemed to be a lot of the day. So, you had drop passes. I think I saw one of the Bengals reporters say that T. Higgins had 4, and there were a lot. I mean, but some of them were because they weren't the easiest passes in the world, where it seemed like because of the tight windows that the secondary was creating, that Burrow was having to kind of put it in tougher spots to catch. And obviously the ball was wet, so that was a factor with how much, rain there was. So, yeah, D-line overall pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's like they were just completely getting penetration over and over again.
Things did look contested in the secondary, and I think that's a good sign. That's an extension of what we've seen against the Bears offense. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen against Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore fighting for footballs, Roma Dunze going against Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, what have you. You've seen a lot of those contested throws favor the defense a bit when it's ones versus ones for the Bears. So I would consider that a very good sign that things continued against the Bengals and Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting to the point where it would be extremely disappointing if this defense wasn't pretty good, at least.
Top 10?
I mean, yeah, if they're not a top 10 defense, something's gone wrong based on what we've seen. Now, if you were to make the case for why that doesn't happen, it's right. Dexter's look good. That's a huge development, but we've yet to see it in a real game, this year. So does that translate to the regular season would be a question. And then it's still this second defensive end spot. How does that get handled? Well documented over the last 24, 48 hours that the Bears were in on Judon. Didn't happen. So how does that develop throughout the season? But other than that, it's like you really can't find a hole in this defense right now.
Well, that would be the hole.
Right.
Pass rush help, right? That would be the place for the upgrade, the place to spend more draft capital on, the place to spend maybe eventually more money and years of commitment on. We'll see what happens, but I do think it's notable that the Bears were in on Judon.
I still think they can be a top 10 defense, though, without.
Well, they were. They were.
That's what I'm saying. That would be a disappointment, even if they don't add on here to that spot. I still think they should be top 10, but I do think they are a Gervon Dexter, leveling up / someone emerging as the other defensive end or adding via a trade or a signing to being a top 5 defense.
I think one of the best things, one of the most underrated storylines of training camp thus far is just how deep some positions might be on defense. I don't think it's up front, but in the secondary, we have Greg Stroman making plays, Josh Blackwell making plays, Elijah Hicks making plays, not only in these joint practices, but throughout camp, in the preseason games. You're seeing the depth has improved. Now, some of that's experience, some of that is time within the system, but I think that's very encouraging, especially if you have Brisker still out, Gordon still working his way back, and Stevenson, who missed some time. And if that secondary is going to continue to be the strength, if it's going to continue to be what drives your defense because all the talent is there, it's a good sign for the Bears.
What did you see from Caleb Williams in the offense on the other field?
I think his best pass, it wasn't the touchdown to DJ Moore. It wasn't that quick slant to Roma Dunze. It wasn't the jump ball, back shoulder touchdown on the edge there to Keenan Allen, which was a great play. Had a great view of that. There is a pass later down the right sideline where Dunze is running like a corner 7 route, flag, whatever you want to call it. And it was just perfectly placed over defenders. Where even from where I was, you even heard like Bengals players go, ooh.
Yeah.
Great ball. Goes out of bounds. Roma Dunze caught the ball before going out of bounds. Big gain. I want to say it was like for 30, 35 yards. Just the touch and the accuracy, the poise in the pocket. Like that stuff is getting so impressive, especially for a young quarterback. Like that touchdown to DJ Moore. Poise in the pocket, driving the football over the middle. That's what's really starting to stand out to me. His willingness to play within the pocket and then deliver these passes continuously. Keenan Allen, another example. Anticipation, knowing his matchup, and ball placement. We're seeing this continuously now from Caleb Williams.
Yeah. And I like that, he threw an interception on his first throw in 7-on-7.
Forced it.
And it didn't really seem to phase him from that point on. They were seeing, I think it's important to note, they were facing a different type of front, different defense too, which is one of the benefits of having, these joint practices. And I think it's very encouraging that he overall, I think, had a really good day and looked comfortable. There's something that, talking to Cole Kmet earlier in the week, talking to some of the players who have spoken at the podium this week, like they seem to feel like the lights go on a little bit more when it's a game, right? And yesterday wasn't a game, obviously, but you're still going up against a different opponent. It feels like
definitely different energy there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why I'm glad they're going to play on Saturday too, so we could see it again. Whatever the results are, I think getting those reps are still important, even if they're limited.
I think the run game is going to work. Khalil Herbert had a run where it's live action. I don't think he's breaking it. Like he finished his run into the end zone. Would have been like a 60-yard touchdown run, but you're looking at a 15 to 20-yard gain on that run. A nice violent down the hill run to the left edge. I thought Darnell Wright, he's starting to look better. We've questioned him too. I think we've had some doubts about his camp. I think he's gotten better since the Buffalo game. There were a couple sacks. BJ Hill had one in the 2-minute drill. Trey Hendrickson. Did you ask Cole Kmet about this yet? Had a great pass rush on Cole.
Oh, yeah, he beat Cole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the one where he tapped Caleb on the head?
He tapped him on the helmet, and then that's just...
I thought that was funny. I'm not allowed to touch the quarterback. I'm just going to tap you on the head.
Yeah, Caleb turned around. There's the NFL sack leader right there. That's a tough matchup. It's a really tough matchup in that footing for really any tight end. I think Cole Kmet, top 10 at his position, but there was some pressure. But overall, I thought the Bears' offensive line won. And I think that is encouraging more than anything else that we've talked about so far in the show.
Yeah, so good day. Now we'll see what it looks like in the game. The Bengals are not playing their starters, right? Zach Taylor said that earlier in the week. think I saw one thing about like
Yeah.
maybe one starter will play for some reason. I didn't click on it. So on the downside, unlike last week when the ones were facing the ones in the game, the defense will be, well, both sides will be going up against, backups, and we'll have to take that into account with whatever happens. But I don't know, maybe they'll get an opportunity to go up against the Chiefs and have better results on Thursday night than they did last year when they went to Kansas City. What was that, week 3? Week 4?
That's when I was just about to give up on the football season. That's when I started to plan my QB trips. I'm like, I'm going to go see Caleb Williams. I'm going to go see Drake May. I'm out. See ya. JJ McCarthy. When am I going?
I think there might have been going on inside the Bears building too.
It did.
At that point. Yeah, that was,
I'm out of here.
That was not
Things got
really.
better.
All right. What else? Go ahead. I'm listening. Well, should we get to some questions, or do you have anything else on the practices?
No, I thought it was a good day overall for the Bears. I did. Although I was joking about the kickoff period, I like that they did such a long one, just to test different guys out, a lot of different returners. And I thought you got a good look at how some of the Bears' options handle poor conditions. So maybe that changes things and how they plan things for the regular season.
Yeah.
A lot of balls on the ground.
Yeah. It was wet out there. All right.
The Bengals were dropping the ball.
Yeah. There was a lot of drops out there.
It's like 3 in a row for the Bears.
I will say this on the kickoff. I keep hearing that there might be some tweaks to this thing before the regular season starts. And I know they had a Zoom call the other night. And there's a media briefing actually on Monday that's happening. So I don't know if they're going to announce some changes already or just update it. I don't know. I don't know what the changes would even be unless they're going to.
You're a special teams coordinator. Wouldn't you be a bit PO'd if some of them are
no, but what I think
notable?
Well, one thing it would be a little dramatic, but it wouldn't shock me. I'll just say that. The original rule proposal had the touchbacks at the 35, not the 30. I wonder if they might still change that back to the 35 to penalize the touchbacks even more. Because we heard Hightower talk about the other day that it's still somewhat of a small sample size, but the average starting position is 29 right now, and the touchback's 30. So it's like, well, I can avoid giving up a long return just by kicking out of the back of the end zone. That's where I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what these conversations have been like. I just know that they're continuing to happen, and we still got some time here. So just keep an eye out for that, and there might be an update coming Monday.
Yeah. You know what? Surprise! We're just going back to the old rule.
Well, they're not going to do that. That's not happening. The dynamic kickoff's happening. It's just a matter of do they make. One thing I heard Sean Payton talking about the other day is, and I think the average football fan feels this because I was at a bar. I think I mentioned this before. I was at a bar on Saturday in between the ceremony and the reception at this wedding, and the Packer game's on, and I'm in Green Bay. So there's a lot of people there watching the game, and they do the kickoff, and nobody had any idea what was going on. Like, if you kneel here, it comes to the 20. If you do this, it goes to 30. Like, there's all these different starting points, and I totally get it. It's very confusing for the common fan.
Why do they call it the dynamic kickoff rule? Because from what I've seen, it's not that dynamic.
Ooh.
It's more convoluted.
Don't tell Rich McKay that.
On the call?
The convoluted kickoff rule.
It sounds better. Just rolls
That's
off
good.
the tongue.
That's good. Right now, it does seem a little bit like that. I think the end product's going to be worth it, but they got to clarify some things, I think. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen, whether it's now before week 1 or next offseason. They'll make some tweaks to it. All right, let's get to some questions, though. neither of us have seen these. This is Kent, our producer, picking these out from Twitter, and I'll let you deliver them.
This is from Not Fake Mooner.
Mm.
Is there anything that you feel like is being portrayed by Hard Knocks differently than how you see it at camp preseason? For example, it felt like they were showing Velus as not knowing what he was doing at running back.
Yes. Well, there's an obvious one. Coaches swear a lot, but they don't swear on Hard Knocks.
This has become it's a theme now.
Yeah. And I am on record. It doesn't bother me because I'm sitting there watching with my 10-year-old, and I don't mind the fact that he can sit there and watch a clean show. It also wouldn't bother me the other way. And I do agree with those that are sort of complaining about it by being like, well, it's not an accurate representation. You're supposed to be giving unprecedented access to a team, and you're not. You're bleeping out things that they're saying. Like,
has there been a bleep though?
Well, there's been some, not bleep, but they mute some words.
Well, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah, there's been a couple. Or they edit it, right? Like, so when they show Jalen Johnson upset about the top, not getting in the top 100.
Yeah, I noticed that one because I was in that room.
He said it was bullshit, but they didn't play that part, and it was the best part of the quote.
Strong quote.
Yeah. So
do you think this is HBO? Do you think this?
I don't think it's HBO. It's HBO.
Do you think this is the Bears?
HBO. This is what HBO is. I think it's got to be the Bears, right? They've been doing this show the same. I just got done watching the Giants one. They're swearing in the Giants one.
I don't think Matt Eberflus or Ryan Poles are big like F-bombers, though. They have a few coaches who drop them. I don't think Flus is a big F-bomb guy. Just like Lovie Smith, like rarely sweared. Mm-hmm. He did have, like, what did his players used to say? Like, he used to have, like, these different sayings where swear words are usually injected, but Lovie would say something else. I don't think Flus does that, but I don't think he's a big F-bomb guy.
I think that's part of it, but don't you think after 2 episodes that this has been a concerted effort?
It probably. It's a trend now.
Yeah, it's 2 episodes.
It's curious.
It is. But more to the question about the football stuff. The Velus thing, I think he was being honest that like he's getting a crash course on how to play running back. It's not the easiest thing in the world. You don't just get the ball and run forward. The one thing I thought was a little unfair was when they were doing the Keenan Allen versus Jalen Johnson thing. Keenan got him. And they didn't show that. They showed a different catch he had against different defensive backs. So I don't know if they just missed the catch that he did have against Jalen Johnson in that practice, but he did call a shot. He's like, I'm going to get him tomorrow. And then he came back and he got it.
I'm trying to think of what else. They're always looking for the long shot stories. I don't know if I don't think they. Like, it's not a quarterback competition behind Caleb Williams. It's Tyson Bagent's the number 2.
Yeah.
And Brett Rippon will probably be your emergency quarterback. And maybe they keep Austin Reed around in the practice squad too. I think the hierarchy there is pretty well established in terms of what the Bears want. I wouldn't consider that like a competition. Bagent is clearly the number 2 quarterback. He had a great day against the Bengals, by the way. He was very good in that joint practice. Other than that, no, I that's what stands out to me. Maybe the quarterback conversation.
There was a small, tiny mention by Liev Schreiber that Austin Booker was fighting for a roster spot. That's that.
Oh, he's not. No,
he's not.
No. He's on the roster.
And I don't mean to throw Liev under the bus. He's not writing that. He's just reading what they write for him. But that's other than that, though, I think everything's been pretty accurate. Even I thought the first episode with Caleb, I thought it was just getting to the point where I'm like, they're being pretty hard on him here with all the struggles. And then they flipped it and they showed the progress that he was making. And so at the end, I'm like, that was actually a pretty accurate representation of what's been going on.
Yeah, there's been steady progress, steady improvement by Caleb Williams throughout this camp.
It's been nice to see. It's refreshing for that position. I think fans should definitely be excited. Next question.
From Ferdinand Chubb. As someone who couldn't pick Eberflus out of a lineup, I can't talk today. As someone who couldn't pick Eberflus out of a lineup a month ago, he has seemed very personable on HBO. Also, no real botch calls I can remember. Is he a legit head coach?
I agree that through 2 episodes, Hard Knocks has been good for him. I think it's part of, speaking of trends, that we've seen this entire offseason, going back to the first time we saw him with the new haircut in January at that press conference. The botched calls thing was something I've been on the last couple of years, even after the first year when the Bears only won 3 games. I feel like sometimes we forget how many times past coaches look completely clueless with when to challenge plays, when to call timeouts. I specifically remember John Fox, who had been around forever coaching at that point. Every single week there was something where we're up in the press box going, what the hell was that?
Hot dog laid in press box, Adam.
There was the game in Detroit where he completely misused his timeouts and they lost.
And then there was the challenge that turned into a turnover. Remember that?
Yeah. The greatest gif of all time, where he challenged.
I'm laughing at it since that's all I'm thinking about right now.
He challenged the play, and the Packers got the ball out of it. They actually overturned it against the Bears when he's the one who challenged it. It's one of the greatest moments of all time.
To your question, like this is who Flus has been, though. He's always been very personable. I think he's gotten more comfortable in showing that very personable side to the media. He's joking around with us a bit more. He calls us by name. He has opened up a bit. There's a new comfort level to his answers. You could hear it. But I think he's still the same football coach. I think maybe he's changed a few things here or there. I mean, obviously his look is notable. He looks good. But the person, the coach he is very much the same as it has been over the past couple of years.
Yeah, and so I think this has been good for him so far through Hard Knocks. And just finishing up what I was saying about the calls, like, I haven't really, the head coach stuff, like, they seem really prepared. You saw the scene in Hard Knocks with Harry Free going through the referee stuff with Caleb. Hey, you're going to see this guy this many times. You're not going to see, like that was really cool to see. So they're really detailed from that standpoint. The botched calls, like, that we have seen, I feel like have been more, like, I know some of the players were critical of some of the play calls in Cleveland last year when they blew that game. But that's a defensive coordinator thing. That's Flus the DC, not Flus the head coach. So I've been really impressed through 2 seasons actually with him, his in-game decisions, and the level of detail that they go through in practice with the amount of specific situations that they practice has been unlike any coach I've covered. And we've covered a lot. Here in Chicago.
There's some unfamiliar area or infamiliarity, whatever that word is, non-familiar.
Next question.
From Nick. Has Caleb looked the most pro-ready coming as a rookie as any other Bears QB you've seen in your life? He honestly looks the part and has been putting together strong training camp preseason. Now, our 2 biggest reference points are Mitch Trubisky and Justin Fields. And I think I've been consistent with this. The Bears' plan for Caleb Williams from the start has just been so significantly different than what they had for Fields and Trubisky. No Andy Dalton, There's no Mike Lennon. It's full steam ahead with Caleb Williams and a good supporting cast. It's just so different than the previous year ones for those two quarterbacks.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is an easy yes to this question. Did you hear what Joe Burrow said yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
He has a relationship with Caleb, and he was not afraid to talk about Caleb post practice, and he was talking about that specific thing. How, because Burrow, similar to Caleb, no nonsense. Guy's the starter. He's our starter. We just drafted him number 1. This is the plan. Let's go. And Joe was talking about how valuable that is, that you get those reps right away. There's no games being played. And I think it's been very refreshing. I think it's been very good for Caleb from the start. This, without knowing what the results are going to be, obviously it's still August 16th. There is almost nothing that you can criticize with how the Bears have handled Caleb Williams and I won't even say since draft day. I will say since really his pro day. When they spent the extra time they did there, they started installing the offense early. They really didn't screw around with it.
They're not wasting everybody's time like we did in 2021.
Yes, exactly.
In all seriousness, I mean that.
Yeah.
They're not wasting our time.
What a waste of time training camp was, guys.
Won't be saying that.
It was. And
did HBO bleep that out? Or no, we did that.
We did.
Okay. Yeah.
I think. Ryan Poles actually, I think, deserves credit for this because he came from Kansas City where Patrick Mahomes sat for a year. Like recognizing that you don't have an Alex Smith here.
Mm-hmm.
That is important. Like, it's not even like trying to acquire an Alex Smith. Like, Alex Smith was entrenched there for like 5 years.
But also, it's not even that, which was great that the Chiefs had that. I got to be careful on how I word this, but I do believe it. Caleb Williams is more pro-ready right now than Patrick Mahomes was in his first training camp. That's a fact. If you go back and look at Mahomes and what he was at Texas Tech and what he needed to, now I think he would have been fine. I think we've learned enough about Patrick Mahomes that if he had to start as a rookie, it would have worked out because he's that good. But Mahomes needed to sit more than Caleb Williams. That doesn't mean Caleb's going to end up being better than Mahomes. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say very specifically, as rookies coming in, Caleb Williams is more pro-ready than Mahomes was. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say, coming off of what their college careers were and where they were at just as prospects.
Well, I think their draft selections tell you that too.
Yeah.
Caleb number 1, Patrick Mahomes was 10, right? 10?
Yep. He'll
10?
tell you. He will count them for you in the Bears end zone if you'd like him to.
Maybe next week.
Well, that'll be in the Chiefs end zone, but yeah.
Well, yes.
I see what, yeah. I meant the stadium. Yeah, it'll be. He won't.
Next question.
Yeah.
Savage Smiley. Savage Smiley. Is there a remote chance Poles makes a move for Hendrickson after being in on the Judon sweepstakes?
I mean, I feel like that's up to the Bengals. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm not moving them. But if they want to make him available, I love Trey Hendrickson. And even though he's going to cost more, I'd rather have Hendrickson than Judon.
Younger player by 3 years.
Yep.
Coming off NFL leading, what was it, 17 and a half sacks? I'm pulling this up right now. 17 and a half sacks. I mean, his past 4 years have been outstanding. 3 consecutive Pro Bowl appearances. He's one of the best pass rushers in the league.
Yeah. Been a great signing for the Bengals coming over from New Orleans. It's worked out perfectly.
Mid-season or trade deadline, second-round pick?
Sounds pretty good.
Do it.
I would do it, but I would not do it if I'm the Bengals.
And you're in the hunt.
But they got to figure some things out over there in Cincinnati. You got the owner saying, I don't know if we can pay Jamar Chase. He's a hold-in. Then you got to pay a pass rusher too. You got Joe Burrow's contract. I don't know if you noticed, but they didn't fly a private plane to Chicago. They had a coach bus there yesterday. Did you notice that coach bus?
Wait, you're telling me they took the bus here?
Did you see that RV looking coach John Madden?
I did see that
bus that was parked. Yeah,
I
that
did.
was my understanding is that was Bengals ownership.
Oh, they took the bus here.
Yeah, not the team.
Not the team. Okay.
No, the
Whew.
owners. The owners. A lot of owners will fly private planes to games separate from the team. Now, I got no problem with that. The bus looked nice. But apparently, but like this is well documented that the Bengals aren't the richest team in the league. Just saying. Make some tough calls. And if, man, they're forced to give up Trey Hendrickson, sure.
That is the benefit of having your starter on that rookie deal. 2-year deal for Trey Hendrickson, all within that rookie contract. We'll see.
Yep.
Next question. From David. How do you see the running backs room playing out now with Velus? Swift, Hoge Johnson, Herbert, is someone left out? We talked about this on a previous show. The answer is no, because Velus kind of counts as a receiver and a running back. So whatever numbers you want to play with, it works. He's on the roster.
Yeah. And I feel like I've answered this question every day for a week now. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but the Bears actually kept 2 returners last year.
Can I ask?
They had a punt returner and they had a kick returner. And like, there are spots for returners. And in this case, he's a returner who happens to be able to help you in multiple ways on offense. That's how you got to look at it. He's not taking up a spot in the running back room. He's not taking up a spot in the wide receiver room. There isn't a limit there. He's just he's taking a spot on the 53, not in the room specifically.
Well, he has a spot in the room. He's a seat.
No, they don't let him in.
No, you got to sit outside and listen in.
Yeah, they only have 5 chairs in the room. That's the problem. So because it's the sick. No, I'm just like, but this is my point. Like, I'm making fun of it because it's like
Ian Wheeler's lap.
Well, Ian Wheeler might not be in there. I don't know. Maybe he'll make the practice squad.
So Tom Waddle, I was on the Waddle and Sylvie show earlier this week.
Oh, they let you go on 1,000? That must be nice.
Yes. Here is my question from Tom. Tom asked me this. He goes, basically, like, I'm paraphrasing now. Like, what is the obsession over Velus Jones Jr.? Not just from the team, but from like outside and everybody. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know. My best answer that I could come up with in that moment, spontaneously, was he's a draft pick. That's it. He was like an old draft pick. So I feel like there's that memory of that. Draft picks just always come with a little bit more scrutiny.
Yeah, but, we've been through this with a number of players. There are just certain guys that they don't even have to be draft picks. Like, it's the same thing happening with Nate Davis right now. It's approval rating is really what it is. And some players, they just, from the very start, they don't get off to the right foot with the fan base or whatever. And it just, warranted or not, it just sort of sticks. It's fine. I don't know.
Do we have one more? One more question? This is from Taves.
Oh.
Jonathan Taves?
Be nice.
Taves 0429.
If Jonathan Taves, if you're watching the show, you should come on with us.
That'd be awesome. That'd be a fun show.
It would be.
So if this is Jonathan Taves for real, I think he follows me on Twitter still.
Oh.
Give him a text one time. It's been a while.
Tell him to jump on with us. We'll preview the hockey season. I'm ready to go.
Well, that's a story in itself. Like, Jonathan Taves, where are you now?
He did a recent signing, I think. He had like a public signing event.
Why didn't I know that?
Something. Our CHGO Blackhawks crew was on top of that. Yeah, so it was good to see him out and about. Anyway.
All right. Well, this is Taves' question. Lots to talk about how Darnell Wright hasn't looked great this camp. What's your assessment? Should Bears fans be worried? We talked about this briefly earlier in the show. He's gotten better. Some of the concerns I had early in camp were look like Montez Sweat, even Dominique Robinson. all the success they were having coming over the right side of the Bears offensive line. I'm not saying all the concerns are gone, but Darnell Wright has been better or less noticeable, which is a good thing for an offensive lineman.
I thought it was big that he was out there playing against the Bills last weekend because I thought last week he was playing hurt. He didn't look right. A couple times he was clearly limping. Obviously, he missed some practice time in there too. So the fact he was able to get out there against the Bills, and this week I think he's looked a lot better. So maybe he's just getting healthier. Maybe whatever was bothering him is better. And he's a grinder. He's going to play through stuff. And he definitely feels like one of those guys where if something's bothering him, we're really not going to know about it unless he misses practice. So
he played like most of his rookie season with like an arm strap, shoulder strap, shoulder restraint.
Yeah. Remember the one arm block he had on Max Crosby?
Mm-hmm.
Like his arm was like dangling there. He had to block him with one arm. Like that's pretty impressive.
I feel like we're still learning more about Darnell Wright. Maybe he's just a slow starter in camp. Maybe it takes a couple weeks to get going. Maybe he needs to really learn through his own experiences against Montez Sweat because that's a darn good pass rusher. Maybe that's how he improves. Maybe that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. I don't get the sense that the Bears are ever worried about Darnell Wright. Like, that hasn't been a thing.
Well, I think the main offensive line storyline right now is the player who plays next to Darnell Wright. Whether or not that's Nate Davis, Ryan Bates, or even Matt Pryor has entered the conversation per Matt Eberflus.
Well, all of a sudden, Bates is week to week out of nowhere.
So it's going off that, as everybody focuses on right guard, that kind of means to me that Coleman Shelton is now most likely your week one starting center.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's been playing out. And I don't think that's a bad thing. He's looked pretty decent to me. I think he's the better snapper out of the two.
Which is important.
Yeah. So we'll see. All right, that was the last question? I think so.
Any more?
What do you want to see from the game?
Well, it's the Bears starters versus the Bengals backups for the most part. So you want to see them be consistent, have success, move the ball, and get out healthy. Simple as that. It's a lot of things, but the last one's probably the most important.
Yeah, I think I feel similar as I did last week when I said that my hunch is it should look pretty good offensively. Like the Bengals probably threw more at the Bears yesterday in practice than they will in the game. So it's not all out there on tape. And I think that's why the coaches like those joint practices so much so they can do that. So if Caleb handled it well yesterday, I think, going up against backups on Saturday should look pretty decent.
My whole thought process on this game is you're looking at one series, maybe two if the first one's short. Then Caleb Williams is out of there. So if you get like a nice 7-8 play, 9 play scoring drive, especially if it ends in a touchdown, first team offense and Caleb are done for the day.
Yeah.
And they should be.
Yeah. And defensively, I don't think you need to push it too much.
No.
Especially if they're not playing their starters.
And especially if you're considering playing your starters against Kansas City.
Like if Flus had come up there yesterday and been like, you know what, our offensive starters are going to play, but our defensive starters are not. I would have been like, that's fine. Now maybe select guys you still have out there, like a Dexter, because he's still so young. Tyreek Stevenson's been out. Now that he's back, get him some game reps. Select, and maybe that still happens. Maybe DJ Moore doesn't play. Now he has been out there on these preseason games, but I think, especially with them, like with the Bengals playing backups, I would not have a problem if DJ Moore and Keenan Allen don't play.
Well, we actually saw that towards the end of practice yesterday.
Yeah.
Where you had Freddie Swain and Simba Webster in there with Caleb Williams.
And so you let Caleb get reps with, sort of some of his twos, treat Rome like the number one wide receiver, get Rome those reps. I wouldn't hate it if it plays out like that. So we'll see.
First team offensive line, though. Everybody out there.
Oh yeah. That, and hey, it's just good at Soldier Field, even in a preseason game, to see number 18 run out there for the first time. That part will be cool. The fans that are there. Hopefully the rain holds off. I was checking it like 2 days ago. It's supposed to be a nice sunny day. What's going on?
Some early morning showers. Hey, if they're going to practice in it, might as well play in it.
They're ready to go then. Well, it should be fun. And we will be back on Monday. So we won't have a post-game show immediately following the game.
Special episode edition?
Yes. On Monday.
Special episode edition.
And if you've been following the show for a long time, you usually know it comes in August. So we'll tip it a little bit there. But yeah, big episode coming Monday. Stay tuned for that. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Johns. Read Johnsy in The Athletic. He will have all your coverage along with Kevin Fishbane from Soldier Field on Saturday. You can find me on CHGO. We will have pre and post game. As always, 11 a.m. pregame. We're on the second. The game is over there. So make sure you're subscribed to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel as well, and subscribe to the CHGO Bears podcast for all that immediate coverage on Saturday. Should be fun. And we're going to see 2 games here really quickly. Saturday, then turn around the Thursday. And just like that, the preseason is going to be over. Stay tuned. We'll talk to you special episode Monday.
See ya.